Do you want to learn a fine little tune from the snowy valleys of Sweden? Sounds good? Emelie Waldken here. This tune is the Schottis från Transtrand, and Transtrand is an ancient parish, it's a village, and it's a mountain in southern Dalarna, close to Malung, where I studied. It's the southernmost one in Sweden, and it's a very nice place. It's wild, you can do lots of hikes and skiing and, all this kind of mountainy things to do. Note that the tune is also known under the name Schottis från Lima. Lima, not in Peru. There is a Lima actually right there, basically next to Transtrand. There is a village, another village called Lima, which is called to Malung. And the tune seems to be coming from Transtrand, but maybe it's from Lima, or people just got confused because it's so close, one to each other. So it can be called both. I have always heard the name Transtrand, or at least I've associated it more, and the person I learned this tune from, Mattias Helje, who is from that area and playing this kind of music, he calls it Transtrand. But as said, could be called Lima as well, not Lima in Peru, Lima in Sweden. What is quite funny about this tune is that you can play it in a range of different keys. The apparently official key is that you start on an A, so it's in D minor, so as I just played. But I have personally played it a lot in G minor, so starting on a D, one string lower, because I was playing with bagpipes tuned in G minor, so we would play in that range. And just a few hours ago I discovered another version played on a harmonica, which is in E. So it's starting on an E, so it's in A minor. So, you can practice this tune that is not too hard in different keys, depending on who you want to play with, so you have a bit more options. It can be a very good tune to practice just that, because it's not too hard, but still has a few nice chords and things that are a very good practice to play in different keys. It's quite a fiddle tune, but it's also quite solid bagpipe, so säckpipa, Swedish bagpipe repertoire. I don't know exactly from which instrument it was transmitted, possibly from the bagpipes, considering the scale and the limited range, but I've heard it a lot on fiddles, so somewhere there, it's a Dalarna tune, a bit limited range, could be bagpipe. Okay, let's go. Part A, starting on an A. Slower. right from the start we can talk about variations, because the ending of this A part that I play is slightly different than the ending I learned from Mattias Helje. And I'm not sure why, so I'm not sure if I just modified it on my own or if I heard someone else playing the version I play. But let's at once see the difference between the two possibilities here. So I tend to play the ending of this phrase, starting on a D. So we have two tiny bits of melody that are very similar. The first one starting on G, and then the second one on F. That's how I play it. But Mattias Helje again plays it. First one from G, second one from E, which gives from the D from before. So sometimes it's really one note, but it makes quite a difference, because I feel my version with the F sounds a little bit like it's a little bit more everywhere. It's a little bit wider and a bit more like hyperactive somehow, while the version with the E is a bit more like closing the sentence, if you want. It's a bit like more like a period at the end of a sentence. It's closing the whole A part a bit more. So here you can already vary between the two, and also when you play with someone else, listen closely to hear which one they play so it doesn't sound too bad. I mean, it's just one tiny little note, so it's not gonna be too bad if you play it differently, but it's still half a tone difference. So it can be nice to just like listen to the other ones enough so you know which one they play. They might play yet another version also. That's very possible. Another thing that we can hear already from the start, it's that it's quite blue. A bird's making noise on the side of the window. If you hear some weird bird noises, it's just outside the window there, on the side of the camera. So the scale that we are playing is not fully tempered. At least how I play it, I tend to have my F quite high and my G also quite high. So especially the F is quite high, it's quite blue. So experiment with that as well, and you can also experiment a bit with the C sharp. It's a C sharp, but it could be a little bit lower. So then we have this very typical scale where you have it's a little bit confusing because we're actually in D, but I think of the scale as more of an A scale because we start on an A and we go to the A. So we are in D, but we play in an A scale, if you see what I mean. And this scale has basically the third, the sixth, and the seventh that are a little bit blue, which is very, very common in Swedish folk music. Then there is the rhythm. It's one of those Schottises that is long, short, short, long, long, short, short, long, so quite dotted in the rhythm, but you can dot it more or less. You can have very sharp dotting, long, short, short, long, or more like subtle, long, short, short, long, you know? It's just there, but not so sharp. I tend to play quite sharp because I like when it's hoppy in the rhythm. I mean, it's a Schottis, it has to be hoppy. But Mattias, for example, plays it much more like almost flat, not fully flat, but much more calmly somehow. So you can play in more of a Mattias style, which is almost flat, but not fully because we still want to have a bit of this hop from the rhythm. Or you can play it a bit more Emelie style. And everything in between. And you can also play more like sharply dotted in some places and more calm in other places. For example, this one was very sharp, but the little scale in the beginning was very calm. So you can play around with that and dot it more or less, and it will give a very different feeling. Last but not least, of course, we have to talk about ornaments. It's a bit hard sometimes in this tune to know if something is an ornament or actually part of the melody. Sometimes there is no good answer to that question. What ornament would I put? A bit of an anticipation in the beginning, maybe with a mordent. Mordent. So on the G we have a roll, the Swedish drill, and then a mordent on the A. And then another roll on the F. Or if you prefer that version with the E instead of the F. B part? Okay, starting on the high A. Slowly. Okay, so here again we have quite a lot of possible variations. Maybe you have heard already in the playthrough that I played minimum 2 different versions of the B part. So again, it's a little bit Mattias Helje's version and the version I usually play. So at the end we have again here you could have, as for the A part, the very last bit, instead of being from an F, it could be from an E. So that's the first possibility. Then a variation that Mattias does is with a little scale there, which is very simple but a very nice little variation. I think it's really his variation and not in the original, but I might be mistaken. And then one I've heard people play sometimes, but I don't know how traditional it is, but it's kind of natural to play it actually. It's to play once more. Or again. If you want to use the F like I usually do. So you have this little like going up variant that is also a nice one. So you can play around a little bit with those variations. Scales, we have already talked about the scale and that it's blue. Double stops, there is really not much to say. It's a lot of open string. If you want, but it's don't think chords too much. Just use open strings when they sound good, pretty much. I would say, but you can put an E there if you want, and maybe even here. If you really want to play a chord, but it makes it kind of more, I don't know, it makes it less modal and more harmonic, and for me it's a little bit sad. Like keep it simple. keep it simple in terms of chords. And if you have chord instruments, anyways, they will have fun with the chords, so let them have the fun and play it simple somehow and play with the variations instead. And the ornaments, because here you have a lot that you can do. Again, anticipation. Lots of possibilities. You can also decide to mark, for example, every time you have, there is a lot of space for ornaments, so or lots of possibilities when you have those two notes that repeat, like same tone twice. There you have a lot of space to do something. So do something. Experiment what you can do and what you think sounds good, and also try to not play the same thing every time. So experiment different ones and then tuck them into your pocket, and like, you know, every time you come to these places, you're just like, ah, okay, this one, why not? And you put this one in your playing. A mordant, okay. A roll. You know, you kind of keep the possibilities open every time you play, and you let your playing surprise you. I think it's a very nice feeling when suddenly something happens and you had not really planned for it. You just decided, like your brain almost decided on its own, or your fingers on their own, to just do something there. And you were not really in the deciding process, and so you're kind of surprised by your own playing. And I personally love the feeling. I think it's just allowing more creativity just on the spot, just right now. And if it sounds good, try to remember it for next time. But if you don't, maybe it will reappear. Or not. So I hope you will enjoy this nice little tune. It's nothing complicated, but it's full of possibilities for variations and, you know, practicing different ornaments and in different keys. So sometimes, even if it's simple, it's actually full of, you know, more complex things than we believe. It's just that you have to take some time to explore that. It's great for practicing scales, it's great for teaching others, it's a really, really nice tune. I really like it. If you would like to get the sheet music for it, I gave those exclusively to my patrons on Patreon, whom I thank a lot, by the way, for the support. Thank you, people. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all the usual YouTube stuff. And consider supporting me on Patreon. You too. You know. It's nice to support an independent little musician like me. I hope you enjoyed a little glimpse of the Swedish winter. We just got fresh snow and I'm very excited because we didn't have a lot until now, and now it's there and it's white and it's absolutely beautiful, and maybe there is enough to even go ski around the house, so yay. And last but not least, I will wish you a very happy new year, 2023. Play well and see you next time. Hej då! Go away. And the radiator is making noises because it's the moment when you have to make noises because the birds were not enough. Oh, another car, seriously? On le refait encore une fois parce que j'ai fait une petite bêtise dans mes ornements.